Now, when I grew up in the 60s, way back a generation ago, I guess, there was a guy who was pretty popular. I read a lot of comic books, and often at the back of the comic book, this guy's picture would be there, and a challenge that everybody, all young men, could grow up and be just like him if they bought a certain product or if they disciplined themselves appropriately. And this guy was 5'11", 5'10" high, and he weighed 375 pounds. And this was before the 1990s offensive linemen that are almost 400 pounds now. His neck was 23 and a half inches around. His arm was 22 and a half inches around about 3 times the size of mine. His chest was 50 inches around. His thigh was 35 inches around. That's about as big as I am around the middle. His thigh was that size. And his calf was 20 inches around. There's a man named Paul Anderson, a very powerful man, a man who went to Russia in 1955, and the Russians held all the world records in weightlifting, and he went there and bested them all and came back, and a commentator said that he was a wonder of nature. He was once asked if he was ever a 97-pound weakling. He said, yes, I was when I was about 4 years old. He was just a big, strong guy. In the 60s, he used to do these feats of strength. He would put men on a bench and get underneath and push it up. He actually lifted 6,270 pounds with his back, which is still in the Guinness Book of World Records, over 3 tons. A very strong, amazingly strong outer individual. But he was just as strong on the inside. He was a very strong disciple of Christ, very strong proponent about faith in Jesus Christ. But Paul Anderson died a few years ago. Died at the age of 61. Strongest man in the world. Physically speaking, one of the greatest specimens that has ever lived, the only person, that might rival what Hercules is in a lot of people's minds. And yet, he died. That strength in his time dissipated, and the strength gave its way to death. And we put so much stock in the outer physical strength in this world. And yet, every one of us has an appointment with death. Every one of us, unless we are killed at a younger age, are going to find death creeping up closer and closer as our bodies wear down. The question is not do we have physical strength like Paul Anderson, but do we have the inner strength? The Bible tells us that the outer man is decaying, but the inner man can be renewed day by day in his strength. Its vigor can increase with time while the outer decreases with time.